Well, welcome back. Tax more, spend more, regulate more. That is Biden's big agenda, and businesses across the country are feeling the squeeze. This administration adding a whopping $1.37 trillion of new regulations since Inauguration Day, far surpassing his predecessors. That includes $870 billion recently spent on his new EPA tailpipe emissions rule. That alone nearly matches the total of the entire Obama presidency in terms of regulations. Republican lawmakers are taking action. The House Small Business Committee holding a hearing next week on the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network's controversial regulations that are impacting mom and pop shops across the country. The chairman of that committee, Congressman Roger Williams, joins us right now. Mr. Chairman, great to have you this weekend. Thanks very much for being here. Assess the situation for us in terms of the regulatory backdrop.
Well, it's killing small business. I mean, small business, Main Street America is the backbone of our country. I mean, we've been fighting high interest rates, high inflation, all these things, and now we come with more and more regulations, and it's requiring small businesses to go out of business in many cases or hire a person as a compliance officer that they can't afford, and so it's a real problem, and we need to be competing for business, not competing against the federal government on regulations. And you've said it before, $1.3 trillion in regulations since 2016 or 2020. And what people don't realize, it's about 2 million man hours to comply to those regulations, and you can't even hire people right now. So it's a tough spot they're putting us in for Main Street, and Main Street's really feeling it.
Well, is this part of the president's climate change agenda? Because I know that he's also insisting that businesses pay and come up with answers to questions about emissions, what their customers are doing, what their customers are doing in terms of emissions. All of that is creating new costs for businesses that were not there before this climate change agenda.
Well, no, exactly. I mean, the government needs to get out of Main Street's world and let Main Street compete and let the consumer tell Main Street if we're doing the right thing or not and give them best service or not. And, you know, they talk about this is all going to be transparent by gathering more and more data, for example, on people, on customers, on Main Street, on business owners. And, of course, it's not. I mean, it's just to create more problems for individuals and businesses to even get started up. So it's a real issue. What the government needs to do is get out of the world of Main Street, let competition work. But that's not what they see in the Biden administration. They're forcing more hours down Main Street's institutions to which they can't comply to. And it's going to cost business rather than add to businesses.
Yeah, and it's not helping employees because their wages are going down while inflation is going up.
Well,
Biden's border crisis also hurting American taxpayers, costing more than $150 billion in 2023 alone. The foreign aid package, however, passed this week without any funding for border security. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is blaming your Republican congressional colleagues. Watch this.
The number one issue that our voters wanted them to address is the southern border and the massive influx of foreigners by the millions coming into this country, and we don't know who these people are, and they basically just surrendered on the border. They now have no leverage to do anything on the border.
Congressman, what about that? You still haven't secured the border. You and your colleagues have been talking about it a long time, though.
No question. I've been talking from day one. Living here in Texas, we see it every single day, and it is the biggest issue we have, and it's the biggest issue we have to fix. And Governor DeSantis is right. However, I did vote to support Israel because I think we have to be with Israel. But we don't need money going to Ukraine when we can have money going to the border. And it is the biggest issue we have, from a sovereignty issue, from a hiring issue, from a business issue. We've got to get our arms around it. And we know what works. It's walls, it's Title 42, it's stay in Mexico policy, and all the above. And we got to address it. And that's where our funding needs to be addressed.
Well, I mean, look, President Biden claims he doesn't have the authority to do anything, despite the fact that he walked into the Oval Office on week one and overturned all of President Trump's security at the border. So what are we doing? Just waiting for an election? We can't do anything then for the next 6 months at the border?
Well, Biden can, if he just did the stay in Mexico policy, if he reauthorized that, we know, and you've reported it, 70% of the problems and the crossings would be eliminated immediately. He can do that. I think 2024 will be the defining moment. We have to get it fixed then, and it's going to save our country, quite frankly, if we get control of it.
All right, we will leave it there. Congressman, it's good to see you this weekend. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Maria.